I chopped off my hair 8 months ago, and at first I was weary of a wash and go. How long would it take? How would it translate at work? Today, let's dissect the style and have some reflective chats. Hello, welcome back to Ikana. This is my YouTube channel where I share all about things related to medicine, mindfulness, and self care as a Black woman. I am an OBGYN resident living in Vancouver and love making videos about how I do my hair as a natural Afro hair person with a busy schedule and just trying to keep things nice but also easy and affordable. And today I'm going to be doing another hair video, but starting a new series that I think I'll call Chit Chat and do my hair with me, wash day with me, that kind of thing, because I wanted to do more videos where I just kind of talk and reflect about things that have been on my mind and experiences I've been having. But I also love sharing about my hair and taking care of my hair. And so I thought that'd be a great way to combine the two. So in my previous video like this, I did a braid out and I was gonna do a braid out again, but then I was like, you know what, let me switch it up. So right now my hair is washed and deep conditioned. So I didn't go through all of the steps like I did in my previous hair video because I basically did the exact same thing. I took pretty low cost today, which I think is good to mix in. So I usually use a lot of Sacred products, but I've also been liking my Garnier products. So I use the Garnier Curls Nourish shampoo. And then I deep conditioned with the Garnier papaya hair food. This I got from the drugstore near me, and I think it was like $3. This I did have to order online, and I think it was $30. So not the cheapest, but does come with a lot of product, and I think it lasts quite a bit of time. In my last video, I did say that I like to pre-poo, but I actually haven't been pre-pooing. I didn't pre-poo, or I haven't felt the need to pre-poo recently just because I feel like it's just a lot of manipulation that's unnecessary. If you're actually doing your hair on a weekly basis, it shouldn't be that tangled. It shouldn't be that dry. And so I've just been going right into the shower. Today I did use Olaplex number 3 because I haven't used it in a while and I love it. So I guess it was kind of a pre-poo, but I just put it throughout my hair on dry hair and let it sit for 15 minutes, showered, deep conditioned, sat under the dryer with the deep conditioner for 15 minutes. And now here we are. I got back home from work early today, which was great. So I have time to do my hair in the afternoon, but usually I'll do this in the evening. My dog is napping right now. And so I'm just fitting this whole wash day routine in during his afternoon nap. So this is just to tell you that it doesn't take a ton of time. It's as someone who's like a pretty busy person, dog mom, social, got all that. This really doesn't take too long. While I do my hair, I also wanted to talk about just natural hair in the workplace because that's something that definitely was something that concerned me before I went natural. I talked about this in my natural hair journey video, so I will try not to repeat a lot of the same things, but yeah, I definitely will say that going natural made me nervous when I was kind of pursuing my career. So, yeah, all throughout my undergrad, med school, pursuing times, and even trying to get into residency, I was very mindful about not making any big changes. Just wanting to keep things pretty safe, which let's start the hair and then let's get into my thoughts now that my hair is natural. So I'm not just talking. Let's do our hair and talk. Freshly washed, it's clean. I like to use my Design Essentials leave-in conditioner. And I just like to use it kind of just all when my hair is all out, kind of in one, because I find I use too much if I try to apply it to every single section of my hair. And today, because we're chatting and we have time, I am going to be doing my hair in smaller sections, but I have definitely done this in a more quick fashion, not sectioning my hair off, and I still think the results come out quite good. Design Essentials, Kukui, and Coconut. Really like this stuff. My hair definitely drinks it up. I do use a generous amount, considering I'm not going to be applying it in sections. And really try to focus it in on the back. So that's where my hair is definitely more of a tight coil. And I find benefits from a bit more moisture back here. Just gonna section my hair. Now the products we're gonna be using for today's wash and go. So the Do Be Girl foam and the Do Be Girl gel. This gel I thought was pretty hard to find, but I actually was able to order it online. They have it on Shoppers. I live in Canada. Shoppers and Walmart Canada website. So if you're looking for this in Canada, that's where I got this. And this you can get on Amazon. So using those products, and then of course, spray bottle with warm water. And this is the most important part of a wash and go is your hair being soaking wet. You can dry it after, but your hair has got to be soaking wet. Just gonna, like I said, work on this back quarter, and I'm just gonna use my little clippies. So we spray our hair down. The same technique I'm gonna do on my whole head. We're gonna spray our hair down. So you really want your hair to be soaking wet for this part. Be the most defined, least frizz. And then first I always put on the mousse. So I'm putting a couple pumps of the mousse. And we're just going to smooth that through the hair. And then rake our fingers through the hair. Helps the curls kind of form their own little natural curl, however they want to. And then do a little bit of a shake. You guys see that? Then taking the gel and doing the same process with the gel on top. You can honestly just use the mousse if you want. This gel I like, it definitely has good definition, but you will get kind of that hard shell cast formation, which I don't mind, but if that bothers you, this gel may not be the one for you. And that's it. So we're gonna do that for the whole head. So yeah, let's chat a bit more about natural hair in the workplace. So like I said, I was very nervous about that. And when I first decided to go natural, I stopped using chemical treatments in my hair for about a year. So I transitioned my hair for about a year, and then I cut my hair off. And I would say when I first cut my hair off was when it was the most challenging for me because my hair was short and I was just wearing it out natural right away. I just was like, exposure therapy, I'm just going to wear this out and learn how to do it from the start and just trial and error, which is, it's something when you're doing that just in your regular life. But honestly, I didn't really experience any crazy comments. Obviously, people commented and were like, oh, you changed your hair. And one thing, I did not announce that I was doing this to anybody really. I think I mentioned it to people that I was doing it actually, but I didn't make it a thing. I just kind of transitioned my hair, did my braids, told some people that I was planning on doing this, but not a huge deal. And I just did it and showed up like that. I think, I talk about the impact of 2020 sometimes in my life. And one thing that I at least think, the people our age, the Blackout Tuesday Square folks, that, many of us were, one thing people seem to have taken away from that is, don't necessarily need to comment to a Black woman about her hair or touch it or anything like that. And of course, some interactions here and there that, were maybe a bit problematic, but pretty rare, I would say, and not as big of a deal as I maybe would have thought it would be in my head, which I'm happy about. Also, yeah, with the curls, just try not to touch them too much once you kind of put the gel in. Just let it do its thing. And that kind of brings me to talking about how I feel like a lot of our feelings about natural hair and how people are going to perceive our natural hair, a lot of it comes from our own community. And I get it because I was the same way before I went natural. I was like, I don't want to get weird comments. I don't want people to think that I'm unprofessional. things like that. I don't want it to affect my career, my livelihood, etc. But I actually feel like I get more comments from other Black people, Nigerian people about my hair and saying it's some kind of way. I feel like I hear more of that kind of commentary from kind of our own people. And it's because I think so many of us have internalized that, having your hair in an afro state is going to hold you back and potentially negatively impact you. And I will say, I think different professional areas are definitely different. I feel like medicine is one of the more forgiving areas for this, but also a lot of prejudice and bias is not necessarily going to be straight direct in your face in medicine, I feel like. And I don't know anything about other spaces. I don't know about everyone's experiences in medicine, but I just feel like, for example, like corporate finance, corporate law, spaces like that, medicine is, predominantly, the new people going into medicine are predominantly women. We're seeing more and more Black women. So that's where my perception comes. But I feel like, also for me, I work in British Columbia. There are very few Black physicians here. Definitely very few black gynecologists in this province. Like I'm talking, I think we can count them on one hand. That's just something to be said. But even then, I feel like I observe and see Black women in other provinces, in other specialties, and I still feel like, we don't see a ton of people wearing their hair in an afro state. From what I can really see and observe, I follow a lot of, Black medical student accounts. And I obviously know people, and of course, some of my friends wear their hair in their natural state. So I'm not saying this is everybody. And also, like, I am not the natural hair police. I think you should wear your hair how you feel comfortable, what makes sense for you and your lifestyle. I just think that natural hair is a really good option for people that people don't necessarily think about. And I want edges. I don't want my hair to be heat damaged. I don't want to lose my edges to traction alopecia from, wearing braids or, you know, frying my leave out or things like that. So like that's where I'm coming from when I say this is a good option. But I feel like, I don't see a ton of um, Black women in medicine in Canada, at least, that, choose to wear their natural hair in the workplace. And so I think it is because of that fear, like the same fear that I had is the same fear that I think a lot of medical learners and trainees have no matter where they live. And like I said, I think it's an act of protection. It's an act of protecting your career and your livelihood. With that being said, although I haven't faced many comments at work that I'd say are too problematic or bothersome to me, I do think that when I walk into the hospital or I walk into a room, I walk into a patient interaction, I'm meeting other healthcare professionals. Sometimes, like for example, on call, I will start my shift with just my hair, however it was that day. So if it's afro, it's out in an afro, and then eventually, as the night goes on, it'll go up or go in a scrub cap or whatever. But I definitely have had some interesting um, assumptions about what my role in the room is, and I think my experience is that's happened where I've been assumed to not be a doctor, which I think happens all the time. I've been assumed to not be a doctor more when my hair is out in an afro. And, you can see people's look on their face when you introduce yourself. You can see when someone is like surprised or a bit like, oh, reaction when you say your role. And the thing about implicit bias today, and that makes it hard to talk about, is because, you know, we're not we're not living in like the 1920s, or we're not living in the 1960s even. We're not living in all these times where bias and racism are more in your face. So it can be hard for us to talk about our experiences when people are like, well, people aren't like shouting to the hilltops, something's wrong with you. So your experience must be fine. But I'm a human. I have my own experiences. I live my life with braids, my hair straight, with my hair in an afro state. So I notice these differences and these nuances and interactions. And yeah, so like I said, there are very few Black doctors where I work. There are frankly very few Black people in Vancouver in general. We definitely have quite a few Black nurses in the area that I work in, but there's no, other than the other Black residents, other than the other Black residents, there's no staff, Black staff physicians or Black attendings where I work. And so it's pretty natural that other trainees, nurses, providers, patients would not expect that the first Black person they may have seen in the hospital is their doctor. So I'm understanding of that, but I think my interactions at work have reflected the fact that, I'm a minority in my workplace. But with that being said, I try to stay unbothered because overall it's been positive. I haven't had any flagrant issues. For the most part, it's been quite good. And in terms of the peace of mind that I have with just how much easier I find it is to take care of my hair, how much more, how much cheaper it is for me. Like, it's a lot of money to get your hair chemically processed, a lot of money to get braids in that you can only really keep in for 4 to 6 weeks, ideally, if you're trying to, maximize your hair's health, how long the style lasts. So I'm definitely feel like I'm saving a lot of money, and I don't feel like it's that much more time personally. So overall, I'm really happy with the choice. And I would say that I was a bit overly nervous, I would say, about how this would impact me professionally. But with that being said, I definitely waited till I was at a point where I had more power and agency over my career, where I felt like, something like hair, I really, with the amount of opportunities there are in my specialty in Canada and in British Columbia, I felt like I had the agency to kind of just do what I want with my hair and not have to worry about being competitive on an application. And do I think that natural hair would have necessarily made me more or less competitive? I don't know. My internalized bias, it scared me, but my practical day-to-day experience tells me maybe it wouldn't be that serious. So I'm going to finish up my hair and then I'm going to come back when I'm diffusing. Me and my dog are chilling together. I've just put some makeup on because I do have some evening plans, but I just wanted to throw in some final kind of comments in the professionalism, natural hair conversation that I could probably keep on talking in another video about things like this, but let me know in the comments down below if you enjoy this kind of chatty mixed with hair style of video. I will say that, when I'm going to work and it's more of a clinical kind of professional clothes setting, because a lot of my work is in scrubs and at night and so very casual. But when I'm able to kind of get a little bit more dolled up and a little bit more glam, I definitely think that I feel more put together with my natural hair. And I think that's true with any person. Like, putting a little bit of makeup on will make you feel a bit more just put together. But I think that it's kind of, I don't know if it's all in my head, because at the end of the day, it's an afro. Just because I have makeup on doesn't change the fact that I have an afro. Um, and probably doesn't change the majority of people. If they're going to have an impression of me because I have an afro, they're going to have an impression of me with makeup or without makeup. But I will say that's one thing with natural hair, is that I definitely feel a lot more confident with makeup on, but I'm definitely getting better with that. At the end of the day, I don't wear makeup every single day, and I'm going to go out of the house with my hair however, but I do also think that with other people, like I was saying, like other people in Black community, family members, I feel like they kind of get a better sense of the vibes when everything's kind of put together with makeup and this and that. And I I don't know. I want to try and shake that from my system, but I think it's just kind of part of the process. I think it's a natural thing that people might feel.
Nice. Wait, what are the points?
MJ6. I ended up wearing my hair in a loose puff while I was in Toronto. I felt some discomfort having my full fro out in a new workplace, back in my home city, and just wanted something simple, particularly with early starts since I was commuting. And something about being perceived in an unfamiliar place makes me have more hair anxiety. But taking a mindful moment and recognizing these thoughts is part of the journey. I did do a braid out while here and loved how it turned out. That's all for this video. Subscribe for more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and until next time.